It's the holiday time, and it's, of course, really very exciting for us, and for me in particular, because this is our very first Christmas show. And wow, you're pretty excited to participate. We're talking, it's Gary Shandling show. Hit it. It was 1986. The Statue of Liberty was reopened to visitors after being refurbished. The Mets won the World Series. Sidney Pollack won an Oscar for Best Director, and Gary Shandling broke the fourth wall during his Christmas episode. I'm your host, Jerry D, with another episode of Totally Rad Christmas, the podcast that talks all things Christmas in the 80s. Toys, movies, specials, music, and fads. If it was gnarly during Christmas in the 80s, we got it covered. Now, joining me is a Totally Rad Christmas All-Star and Ratty winner. It's the man so knowledgeable about Christmas, he literally wrote the book, author of the Christmas book. It's Ed Daly. Ed, how's it going?
It's going well. Thanks for having me on, Jerry.
It's always a blast to have you on.
Yeah.
I've been going back and re-editing some of my older shows before I started adding clips, and I got to the very first one we did on a Keaton Christmas Carol.
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm just cracking up the whole time trying to add these clips in. So pretty soon that'll be re-releasing.
Awesome.
But yeah, it was so fun.
That
So
was
thanks
fun.
for coming back. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. You were the first Christmas podcast I was on.
Oh,
I
nice.
didn't even know that there were Christmas podcasts, and then I started working on writing the Christmas book,
Right.
and I was like, this was February or March, and I'm researching Christmas, but most of the world there's nothing Christmas going on. And so I was like,
Right.
I wonder if there's like a Christmas podcast or something I can listen to. And then I discovered yours and a few other ones, and I just started listening, and it was like you all were my friends as I was doing this lonely project by myself.
Right.
And I was like, oh, so there are people, weirdos like me who
Yep.
are thinking about Christmas when it's not December. And
That's right. Yeah.
it was a lot of fun. And then I got to listen to all your shows, and you were all very nice to have me on to when it was time to promote my book. So it's always a blast, and it's good to mix it up and listen to your show when I'm out exercising on my bike and it's July and I want to think about something different than
Right.
than the heat, and I think about good Christmas memories. So
Well, and you've got a second edition of the book coming out too, don't you?
I actually, it just the third edition. I just updated
Third.
just,
Okay. Mhm.
Yeah, I just update by the year. So I added in the last year the movie Violent Night, and then a couple things I missed. Like I actually to my book, it's all the different things, TV episodes, songs, movies. I forgot one of my favorite Christmas song to just include it in the first book.
Oh, wow.
Darlene Love, Christmas, baby, please come home. I just forgot about it, and I was like, wait a second, where's the mention of my favorite song? And I just forgot in the first edition. So,
well, it's cool because it's got everything in it, so it's very much like I can see how that would be easy to forget, because it really is like just so expansive, which I think is pretty awesome.
Yeah, but it's like your show is just embracing all the weird things, and some things that I think are genuinely great, and I also kind of embrace some of the really weird 80s specials. Or we one of the shows I did with you, with The Mouse, The Mystery, and Me.
Yeah.
And there were so many questions about that, and you actually did some detective work and actually got the actress, right?
I had to, because we couldn't. You and I, we did our best.
It felt like it was part of a bigger series, that there was no series.
Exactly. Yeah.
We
So
were just supposed to understand that there was a detective. There was a mouse that was helping a woman write detective novels. Was that
yes,
the
that's
premise?
what it was.
And then And then like Santa goes missing, and they're like, "Well, I know who to turn to. That novelist that
That's
has
right.
a
Well, it's a little
mouse
boy,
that
so I
helps her."
get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that one was out there, but it's always fun having you on. And so before we dive into this episode, I'm really excited about this one. But before we get into the actual topic, I want to do my brand new segment, Hit Me with the Toaster. So I'm going to ask you some questions. I just want you to hit me with the first answers you can think of. Okay. You don't have to think that hard about it. So, all right, here we go. Which other musician besides Tom Petty would have been a good fit for the Lads?
I feel like for a very 80s special, like this feels like maybe Huey Lewis would be in that
Oh,
group.
that's a good
Like,
one,
doesn't
actually.
he, like 1986? Don't you feel like, just a guy that would pop in there?
And he would have worn the sweater too.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that one. That's good. All right. You're having Christmas with Gary and his friends. What dessert do you bring?
I'm gonna say something pretty lame, but I'd probably bring Christmas cookies.
Yeah. Hey, I love it. That's what I'd bring, honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. And finally, it's Christmas Eve. Would you rather be locked out of your apartment or have your house raided by SWAT?
I'm gonna say locked out. I'll find somebody else's home. I don't want to be raided.
That's right. That's right. That's a lot of bills where you have to fix all the windows.
Oh, every window.
That's good. That's just a way for our listeners to get to know you a little better. So thanks. Now, today we're talking about a season 2 episode of It's Gary Shandling's Show.
Why don't we just run the opening theme, and I'll decorate my tree, and you at home can rejoice, because it's Christmas.
It's premiered December 17th, 1987. This is just the show in general, just one of my favorites. It was meta before meta was a thing. A lot of audience participation. It was hilarious. I still recall, honestly, the episode where he marries his housekeeper because she needs a green card, and she's like dancing in the background, and she does that thing that makes those armpit, fart noises. And he says something like, how long you wait all your life to find a woman that can do that, or something like that. It was just, yeah, amazing. So
it was so different. It was different than any other show.
It really was, yeah, at the time. But what do you remember about it? Like, what's your history with It's Gary Shandling's Show?
So I think it was on Showtime or something. It was not on network TV, and I didn't have cable until I was in like high school. So I remember going to my buddy Jake's house and watching Gary Shandling because he had cable. So like it was a big deal when I'd go and when I'd go to a friend's house who had cable. I would be like, "Hey, let's watch TV," and they're like, "Nah, I don't need to watch it." And I was like, "Well, no, I think we should check out what's on Showtime or whatever." But
that's right.
But what stands out for me was the breaking the fourth wall. Like that was the first show. He's constantly like, just something's not working, a joke, and then he'll just be like, "Okay, well, the reason why I did this," and you're like, "Whoa, this is so weird." That because we were used to studio audience, canned laughter, everything was like very specific. There was a pattern to how every sitcom went, and then this was just different from that.
Yeah, it totally different. Now I'm in the same boat. We did have cable, but we didn't have Showtime. And so my uncle actually worked for the cable company, and so he would record the shows, and then
Nice.
he lived about an hour and a half away, and so whenever we'd see him, he'd bring us some tapes, and it was this one. Later on, it was The Simpsons and the Tracy Ullman Show and things like that we couldn't see. And then this was aired on Fox, I think, in like the very, very late 80s, early 90s, and so then we kind of caught up on that. We caught up on all the episodes, but yeah, you're right. It was something just so incredibly out there and very unusual for what we were used to. Now this particular episode has a lot of laughs. I have a lot of one-liners written down here. I had to watch it a few times because the first time I was getting ready to take notes, and I was just so enjoying it that I didn't take any notes. So I had to watch it again to write it down.
It's cool, like right from the jump, where you see Tom Petty, but they don't make a big deal that it is Tom Petty. He just happens to be a caroler in the neighborhood.
That's right. He's part of the group, the Lads, which was
The Lads.
one of the supporting actors, it was his vocal group.
Boy, you wouldn't think Tom Petty would be one of the lads, would you? You know, it's not easy to get into this group. Last year they kicked out Springsteen because he wouldn't wear the sweater.
And he's always trying to make it big. And so Tom Petty just joins the lads, and he's there in the same sweater. They're all matching, and they're singing "We Wish You a Merry Christmas." And we immediately cut to Gary's monologue, which I always thought was cool as well, because he comes out and he does like a little setup of the whole thing, almost like Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Except it's worked into like the whole show. So it was just really creative and inventive. And I know the show itself won like a ton of awards because of that. Yeah. So he's doing his monologue, and he says,
you know, I've always wanted to have one of those old-fashioned kind of Christmas shows ever since I was a kid and had my imaginary television series, which was canceled because I was on opposite a guy who had a better imaginary series.
Yeah, he's so self-deprecating, even when he's talking about his childhood imagination.
I know, and I think that's also what makes it so enjoyable. I remember being really sad when I found out that after 4 seasons, like, the show was just gone.
Yeah, like I said, I watched just a handful of episodes when it was on Showtime, like when I caught it at a friend's house.
Right.
But then, yeah, like when it came to Fox or something, then I was very into it, and then it just abruptly, like, there wasn't the internet where you kind of knew when things were coming and going. Like, it just you check the TV guide, the TV listings, and it just didn't exist anymore.
There.
And you're like, oh, that's it.
Exactly. And you're like, what am I gonna do? And so you gotta find something else. But yeah, it's same thing. So the whole premise basically of the show, if we want to nutshell it, is that essentially he's having a Christmas party, loses a gift, and then he has to go find it. That's like the basic plot of the whole thing. Of course, it's more detailed than that. So we start off at his Christmas party, and he talks about how they're making their own ornaments, and they have like popcorn strings, and they have a garland made out of macaroni and cheese as well. But there's a beautiful joke also in there where I think he's talking to his sister, and she says, great decorations. Oh, you must have been cooking all day.
And there's a what? And then there's the kid Grant that's always hanging around. He's what, his buddy's friend, his buddy's son. Right.
And I think he calls him Uncle Gary. I don't think it's his actual uncle. I think it's right. Yeah, I think it's just his an epithet there. But yeah, so it's his buddy's son, and he's like, great party, but like there's no women. Like, where are all the girls? And so he talks about, well, there's your mom over there. Yeah, it's so out there and ridiculous. So we cut to the theme song, which, out of everything, I remember this theme song like most. This is one of my most favorite theme songs I've ever heard.
It's tremendous because it's once again, it's just making fun of the whole genre. Like, this is the theme to Gary show. Like, it's
yeah. All right. It even says something like, Gary called me up and asked if I would write his theme song, and we're almost halfway finished. How do you like it so far?
And then like when there's just no lyrics, then it's just like do 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 do. Like,
that's right. Yeah, that's right. I think he even says something like, we're almost to the part where I start to whistle. Yeah,
it's tremendous.
I know, it's fantastic. So Gary's friend is the Schumachers, and he says something about this mac and cheese is delicious, and Gary says, oh yeah, last year he ate the whole manger. So just a lot of little one-liners here and there. But yeah, so we hear the doorbell, and it's Deck the Halls. It's actually Deck the Halls doorbell.
And he immediately turns to the audience and says, that's right, I belong to the Doorbell of the Month Club.
That's right. That's right. Which I kind of want to be part of the Doorbell of the Month Club, honestly.
Yeah. Christmas themed doorbell, and like, rather than just let that go, he has to point out, this is absurd that I have a Christmas themed doorbell chime right now. Exactly.
Yeah, it's so well done. So this is where we're introduced to Dominic, the new neighbor. He just kind of moved into the complex, and we find out that his sister Nancy, Gary's sister Nancy, invited him over. They kind of met and hit it off, and so she told him to come to this party.
Gary has no idea who he is, and so he's like, what does he say? Like, hey, guy. or something like that.
Hey, you. Good to see you. Good to see you.
He makes it, and he's like, "You don't know who I am, do you?" And he's like, "Sure, I do."
We've been waiting for you. What makes it work is that, like, how often have we been in that situation where you're just like, oh man, who is this person? Yeah, and it's just perfect. So his mom comes in next, and she hands him his present, and he's like, "Oh, great, I'll put it under the tree." But she really, really wants him to open it now, and he kind of struggles for a little bit. He resists. He's like, "No, no, no," and she's like, "I really want you to." And so he just rips it open as fast as he can, and it turns out that it's his dad's watch. It's his dad, who is deceased at this point. I think it's only been like a year, maybe two, but she gave him the watch that she gave her husband on their anniversary.
Yeah, and she's like, he would have wanted you to have it. It was like actually like a sentimental moment, like, and then like there wasn't a joke to that. Just, oh, what a nice gift, and then he's touched by it, and then they move on back to the joke. But that was like
exactly.
It was actually a sweet moment.
Yeah, it really was. And of course, it's one of those where, like, anytime there's any kind of intensity or drama, when the drama gets too high, he cuts immediately to a joke. And so that's when he starts saying, "Oh, he taught me to tell time on this watch, but he never took it out of his pocket. So we got real close." Everyone's passing around, they're looking at it. It comes to Dominic, who says something like,
"Wow, that's a beautiful watch. Isn't it? You could get a lot of cash in the streets for a ticker like this."
Yeah, he talked about money a lot, Dominic.
Right. And he's he seems very like New York, just like stereotypical Italian. Brooklyn.
I'm pretty sure that's a comedian Dom Herrera. I think that's who that actor is.
Yeah, it was. And he's one of those guys you'd know him if you saw him.
Yeah, but very, very stereotypical New York energy kind of guy.
But immediately after this, the Schumachers leave, and then Nancy, his sister, and Dom decide to leave as well because she has a lot of presents to wrap, and she told him that he could put his finger to hold the bow. So that's okay.
Yeah,
I guess that's a thing. And so Gary's a little disappointed because he wanted like this big old-fashioned Christmas with everybody there, this big party, and they're all leaving. And then his mom decides to leave as well. And this is where she says that she and her husband had a tradition. They would watch Miracle on 34th Street every Christmas Eve. And Gary invites her to stay and watch Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yeah, and then the party just dissipates. Like he all his dreams of a good Christmas Eve, it was all dashed like instantly. Like one person decides to go, and then they're all gone.
That's right.
Place is dead anyway.
So his mom even makes a little comment of something like, "Well, I enjoy a slasher film as much as the next mom," but yeah. So she takes off. So it's just like him and the lads, and they're like, "Great, it's we're closing out the joint." And this is where he actually speaks to Tom Petty being a part of it, right? I think this is where he says something like that.
Yeah, but don't they leave right away too? Don't they do the first Noel? The angels did swing, and then they start snapping and bobbing their heads and waltz out the door.
The first Noel, the angels did swing.
Yeah, it's just little bits like that just kind of permeate the whole show. And now he's trying to like cheer himself up because his party's just a complete flop. Everybody's gone, and it's just him and the audience, which I do love the interaction between him and the audience. And he starts trying to cheer himself up, saying something like Christmas is it's like a more of a solitary holiday, and now we can have just an intimate gathering. And
right. And he's clearly all bummed out, and then he's gonna and he's like, well, what can I do to create excitement? So he's gonna rewrap the gift his mom gave him,
right,
for the next morning.
Exactly.
So he can reopen it.
And this is where he finds that he does not know where the watch is. He checks everywhere. He checks the punch bowl even. He just can't seem to find it. And so he says, "I'm going to have to turn this place upside down." And this is like just a Star Trek kind of bit here.
And turn the place upside down looking for something. And then he literally turns the place upside down.
Literally, exactly. He gets in like this chair. It looks like one of those like at one of those
hair
salons. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
got like the hair dryer thing on top, but it's also got like airplane seatbelt,
right.
like
He straps himself
like a
in,
fighter pilot seatbelt harness.
I want to see Gary Shandling as a fighter pilot. Like that would have been fun to see him in Top Gun. Yeah, so he straps himself in, and of course, it's just the camera turning upside down. But we see the whole room turns upside down. Nothing happens, so he turns it back, but he doesn't quite get there, and it's just a little slanted. And he even says something like,
Whoa. All right. Okay. No. It's not your set. It's not your set.
So he gets back in, and he fakes the whole like sliding down and straps himself back in and fixes it. And so, of course, the audience has a big old applause, and we get another fun joke about Velcro.
Do you have the line? He said, "Yeah, I make sure." What does he say? I make sure I Velcro, like everything on like on the coffee table. Everything was Velcroed down.
Yeah. And he says that there was a guy coming door to door in the 70s who Velcroed the whole place for $89. It's like at that, I couldn't pass that up.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Dave Letterman. There was an episode, like he used to just do weird stuff. He did beyond obviously when he Velcroed himself to he wore a Velcro suit and threw himself into a wall. And also the turning the screen upside down. There was one episode that over the course of the hour, he rotated the camera like a degree every 30 seconds or something. So just as it was happening, and people were like freaking out because they weren't sure if it was their TV set back then.
That's like the ultimate troll.
Yeah.
Back then, you just totally trolling the audience. So Gary's he can't find it. So he thinks, well, maybe someone took it accidentally. And he remembers that Dominic was the one holding it, talking about how much money he could get. So says, well, maybe Dominic took it, and the audience gets all into it, and they're like, yeah, go get him. And
they establish him as like not a likable dude.
Right.
Dominic.
Right. Exactly.
He's talking about the value and stuff. So yeah, you think that's where this is headed.
Exactly. And so the audience is basically like, go get him. And he's like, don't you want to give him the benefit of the doubt? And of course the audience shouts no. And he says, well, that's a pretty pathetic Christmas attitude.
Yeah, now he's chastising the audience that were his only friends.
It's so Gary, though. That's exactly what would happen. So yeah, so he goes over to their apartment because she lives, I guess, in the apartment just across the way. And so he goes over, he can see them through the window, and they're having like a tinsel fight. Like they're just throwing tinsel at each other.
It's very flirtatious, playful fight. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Which later on he even asks her, like, well, are you going to sleep with him? And she just says, yeah, I think so. Which if you're Dominic, I mean, that's got to be like, yep, score.
Yeah, good Christmas party for him.
That's right, exactly. What a present. He says he came over because he needed to ask Dominic something. He says, well, first of all, really nice to meet you. He's trying to find a way to like ask him, you didn't happen to take my watch? And he's kind of stumbling over himself, and finally he gets it out. And Dominic,
infuriated.
Yeah. He's like, you think I took the watch? You come by with your head of hair and
your head of hair.
I wrote this one down. He says, I have a heart so big, if you fell off it, you'd break your neck.
Yeah, he's very, and then Gary feels like a bigger idiot, and he's all flustered.
Yeah, oh yeah. So he hightails it out of there pretty quick. But I do like how the sister Nancy mentions that this is like the best Christmas ever. First we went to your party, which was great.
Yeah, twist the knife a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So Gary goes back to his apartment. He's ashamed, and he locks himself out. He just can't get in.
This is where he goes, this has turned out to be the worst Christmas since Dean Martin Christmas special in San Diego.
Which made me wonder, is there a Dean Martin Christmas special in San Diego?
He did it from SeaWorld.
That's right.
It was a disaster. I think that was the final Dean Martin Christmas special, because they're like, all right, we're running on fumes here.
I remember
Shamu's not
like
going to save this one.
Christmas in there, right?
No, it was just Shamu.
if Shamu can't save your Christmas special, I mean, that's a pretty terrible special.
It's dire times.
So he's sitting on his bench, and he even tells the audience to like just go, turn something else on. Just sit this one out for a bit because this is terrible. But his mom comes back and she has to confess that in a moment of sentimentality and loneliness, she actually took the watch back. So he's, hey, if it means that much to you, just, you keep it. But she brought him another present, and it was his grandpa's watch, which also means a lot to her. So he says, well, why don't you keep that? Why don't you just hold on to that? So he ends up with no presents from his mom.
Then he gets a special visitor.
He does get a special visitor. They hear him from the inside. You hear the ho, ho, ho. Turns out it's Santa who opens the door for him.
He's just wearing long johns.
I thought that was odd too. He's only in his long johns and like red socks or red boots, something like that.
All white. He's got the big white beard and they're just white bodysuit or long johns, whatever it is.
Yeah. And he's hobbling because I guess when he climbed down Gary's chimney, he slipped and landed funny on his ankle.
And his mom's like, what did she say? Gary, did you grease the inside of the chimney again or something like that?
She does say that.
Have you been greasing your chimney again? And he's like, well, oh yeah, I guess.
That was good. That was a good Gary Shandling. Gary's, he's all upset because now he's ruined Christmas for everybody, not just people at his party. And so Santa, even though Santa's hurt, he's like, well, Gary, what's wrong? And so he starts telling him, but he stops mid-sentence so that he can go sit on Santa's lap and finish telling him.
That's right. So the grown man sitting on top of Santa's lap.
And Santa in long johns.
Not wearing, where's the red suit, Santa? And he's like, no, it's over there.
Oh, Gary. What can I do to cheer you up?
Oh, Santa, I don't know. I just always wanted one of those old-time Christmas shows, And it just... Can I sit there?
Oh, sure, Gary, sure.
I always wanted one of those Christmas shows, where the family was around the piano singing carols and all your friends were there and there was ice skaters, and snowman, snow.
Gary, that's no problem. You've been such a good boy. All you have to do is close your eyes, wish real hard, and your Christmas wish can come true.
But, he just really wants his old-fashioned Christmas show that he's always wanted with snow and guests and carolers. And so Santa says, you've been such a good boy. If you close your eyes and wish really hard, then, maybe it'll happen. So he does, and Santa snaps his fingers, and boom, we get
everyone's
whole
back.
Shebang. Yep. And it's now the perfect Christmas special. There's a guy in a snowman suit. It almost looked like the one from Disney World, the Disney parade,
right? But like a little bit odd, like,
but also fits perfectly.
It fit perfectly, but also like didn't match the rest of the guests. This was just like a random snowman costume guy.
Well, especially because of people that he's like skating with. Although Gary asked if it's Peggy Fleming, but they're wearing like Victoria era garb.
Yes, it's bizarre.
Yeah,
like this weird, real goofy looking snowman, and then like Victorian, like Dickensian London skaters or something.
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't fit, but it works for Gary Shandling's show. Yeah, exactly. And that's when he makes a joke. Is that Peggy Fleming? Now, I didn't look it up. I didn't see if it actually was Peggy Fleming, but it would have been great if it was. I mean, they got too petty.
Yeah, I don't think it was Peggy Fleming, though.
He notices that it's snowing as well on top of him, so he says how he's got to get that roof fixed. Yeah, just another little one-liner in there. So Gary volunteers to deliver presents because there's no way Santa can. He gives Santa special thanks, and he says,
"That's our Christmas show, I want to thank Santa, who, by the way, did the whole thing and there was no technical device involved whatsoever."
But then, does he wishes that he could deliver the presents, or does Santa ask him if he?
So I think he just volunteers, if I recall.
Yeah, because Santa's sitting there with a throbbing ankle or foot. And he's like, I'll deliver him for you.
Right.
He goes to his closet,
Right, because Santa tells him to bundle up. And what does he pull out?
It's a red Santa coat.
And he says, see, I have something for every occasion. And then this is kind of the funny, but also the creepiest bit of the whole thing where he says, I'll be seeing you at your homes in the next few hours.
He says it in a particularly creepy, un-Santa-like way.
He totally does. Yeah. So he's ready. He takes off. We get another song, which was Gary Shandling's Coming to Town.
Right.
Yep.
Tom Petty et al. Are
Right.
singing.
Yep. Yeah, everybody joins in. It's pretty much just the standard song, just with a couple of lines changed here and there.
Right.
And as we're closing, we see Gary pull up in like a car.
Yeah, like
I
a
think.
convertible.
Yeah.
Right. And he just drives by, like you pan out so you can see it's like a studio set, and he just drives by the set,
Which
waving
was
to everybody.
very Moonlighting. It reminded me of Moonlighting.
That's right. The
Yeah.
Moonlighting Christmas special.
So
But they didn't have snow falling indoors.
no, not quite. So that was the episode, and quite frankly, it's great. It's short. It's only like 22, 23 minutes long.
Yeah. It's a good show in that it is very 80s, but it's very timeless at the same time. It's like
Right.
it's if you watch Different Strokes or something, it's very specific to that era. Gary Shandling, like he's kind of poking fun of himself and the whole genre, and it's like it's its own thing. It's a good solid Christmas special, and it's on YouTube. You can find it.
Yeah. It's really great. I have a question though. If you could actually be in this special, or in this episode, who would you be, or what part would you play?
Even though I'm not a great singer, I'd want to be one of the lads.
Me
Wear that
too.
sweater,
Totally.
hanging with Tom Petty and Paul from Cheers. Remember the guy who's like on a third of the episodes or so.
Yeah,
He
randomly.
wasn't a main guy, but yeah. I'd be one of the lads.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's exactly where I'd be. I gotta watch. This is one that I think I'm gonna watch like forever.
Yeah.
Just put it on randomly.
This is a good one. I hope I can find is this streaming anywhere? I've been watching on YouTube. I'd like to find a better quality one.
Yeah, I would too. I haven't seen it anywhere. You think Showtime would have it since it was a Showtime show, but I haven't seen it there either. So it just seems like, I don't know if it's rights or what is holding it up, but I haven't seen it streaming. So same, I've just watched wherever I can find a Daily Motion, YouTube, all those. Mm-hmm.
But definitely, this is a good annual watch. It's good, quick 22 minutes, and it'll make you laugh several times.
And you actually talk about it in your book as well.
Yeah, that's right. I pointed out that was one of the better sitcoms out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and especially in the 80s, there were a lot of sitcoms. Some of them were better than others. This is definitely one of the top ones. And I mean, it won 4 Primetime Emmys. It won 5 Cable Ace Awards. 3 of those were for the best comedy series. It won the American Comedy Award for funniest male performance in a comedy series, and it won an award for outstanding achievement in comedy from the Television Critics Association. So this was like just a really well-received show, and it's just kind of funny that it just was canceled after a while.
And sadly, another brilliant show that he did, Larry Sanders Show, there was no Christmas episodes.
No.
I didn't think there was, and I double checked and triple checked. Like I really wanted there to be one, but there just isn't. There's no Christmas stuff with that. It's a great show, but no Christmas.
And that one was on HBO, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, Larry Sanders. So another, and where he's a talk show host, isn't he?
Yeah, he's it's essentially the Tonight Show, and he's someone who's pretty miserable in the job, but very insecure. And then the celebrities come on and play versions of themselves, and it's a great show.
Yeah,
and
really
he and Jeffrey Tambor plays the Ed McMahon type character. It's a good show.
So I do got to ask, what would you say would be your happiest memory or moment of Gary Shandling in general, or this episode in particular?
I have to say that the happiest memory is like when I was just rewatching it. It's it's the theme song.
Mhm.
When the theme song starts, it's like it just puts you in such a good mood. It's so ridiculous. Like you
Totally
said,
does.
he's singing about how he's halfway done, and here's the part where I'm going to whistle, and it's just an absurd theme song, and it's so joyful, and it just puts you in the right mood for the show.
Agreed, 1,000,000%. I remember when I was later on when I was in high school, and I was trying to find anything, and I happened across, it was like at a Sam Goody of all places. I happened across a CD that just had, it was like 60 different TV show theme songs. And I was looking through it. I wasn't going to get it. And then I noticed the It's Gary Shandling Show theme song on there. So I was like, yeah, I need this. So
That's
I bought
awesome.
that CD just because of that song.
That's so good.
And there were some great ones on there, Moonlighting, some others, but that one was just, that made the whole CD.
That's tremendous. Moonlighting with Al Jarreau singing that one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they had some great theme songs back in the day.
It's one of the sad things. I know the sitcom is mostly gone away. It used to be a ton of sitcoms, but theme songs, that's a chance for them to cram in another commercial. So you see almost no theme songs, even on like streaming shows where they're not taken commercial breaks and stuff. You don't see theme songs nearly as much.
No, you really don't. And it's kind of a shame because that really set the mood for like the whole show.
Sure.
So, but
every show, different strokes, Love Boat, like there are always just the Jeffersons.
Well, even going back to like I Love Lucy and Gilligan's Island. I mean, just some fantastic ones out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a shame, but it does. Now we come to my favorite part of the show, which is a little segment called "Gag Me with the Spoon." So this is where we do our best impression of our least favorite part of the show. Now, it doesn't mean we don't like it. It's just something we don't like quite as much. So this was really hard because I liked every single bit of it. So if you want to do just one of your favorite bits, that's okay too. I don't mind at all.
Well, so since I've done your show a few times, while I was watching, I'm trying to think of like, well, what doesn't work in this episode? Or what? The only thing that I thought was a little bit weird was how Santa talked when Gary's on his lap, and he's like, "Close your eyes, and we'll ho ho." Oh, and it was just weird how he said
it. Yeah, everything really, like there's an economy of comedy and like everything just works in this show. It makes me wonder how much of it is improvised and how much was actually scripted. But I agree, this was like super hard. I had to like nitpick. And the only reason I picked this line is just because I've never heard anyone say this. And so it just sounded a little odd to me. But this is where Dominic is getting offended. And so Gary stands up because he's trying to back away now, but Dominic thinks he's gonna attack or something.
Stepping to him.
Exactly. So he says something like, "What, you feeling kind of froggy now? If you're feeling froggy, leap." It's like, what does that mean?
That is pretty bizarre.
But even then, I still thought it was a great line. It was amazing. It's just, I just didn't quite understand it. But, but G.I. Joe taught us that knowing is half the battle. What do you think the other half is?
Well, be careful turning the place over because you might give yourself a wedgie.
I forgot about that. He does say that, doesn't he?
Yeah, like when he first turns the place over, he goes, "Oh man, I think I gave myself a wedgie."
Oh man, that's way better than mine. I couldn't find. This was just so great. I was trying to find something ridiculous and I couldn't. So I just said, if no one's half the battle, the other half is just having Santa fix your mistakes.
That's right. A little Santa magic. All of a sudden, the party is back and hopping.
Exactly. Yeah.
And also, that's how he gets into the place. He's locked out of his home. So
that's true. Santa's
the only reason he got in is because Santa was inside, who slipped on the greasy chimney.
Oh man. But didn't he do that in a lot of shows too? Like wouldn't he just like maybe fast forward a few years or you would just kind of make it work? He would just tweak the plot so that all of a sudden
Yes. Yeah. He recognized how absurd it all was, and so he could just tweak things like that.
Yeah, it was Deadpool before Deadpool was a thing.
Yes.
And so yeah, for those of you that are younger and really want to go see something very fourth wall breaking, very meta, very Deadpoolish. Just go watch Gary Shandling. It's fantastic.
So good.
So, and it's been fun talking with you about this, but I want to talk about your book and this new edition. Like, tell me some of the cool things you've added, or anything else you want to talk about. But just tell me about your book, because it's a great book. I own it, and it's a great resource as well.
Yeah, thanks. It's really, if you're listening to a Christmas podcast, you're a fan of Christmas, and I really just tried to embrace the holiday as we know it. Like, certainly there's a history to it. There are religious aspects of it, but it's a pop cultural phenomenon. And also, what are the famous toys, the hot toy for over the years? Like, what's the story? What are the backstories to why we have mistletoe, and what's the roots of eggnog, and stories behind the origin of all the songs, And then I tried to, there are Christmas movie books, but I didn't see a ton on Christmas television. So there's a big section on what are good medical drama Christmas episodes, what are the best sitcoms, and also what are some wacky ones that really didn't land. Like, I loved Beverly Hills 90210 as a cheesy soap opera. When I was in high school, I was like around the same age as those kids, and I love the show.
You mean 30 years old?
Yes, that's right. That's right. Andrea Zuckerman could have been my mom. But
right.
But also pointing out how absurd the episode where it's a totally happen in life, where they're on a bus that is in peril, and they have to learn what it and then they like totally miss on ripping off It's a Wonderful Life. They do something else, and but pointing out, but having fun with all that, but just stuff like this episode we just talked about, like pointing out I tried to point out the things that bring me joy, and also I tried my best to rank the top 120 or so Christmas Carol adaptations.
Right.
So that's another thing. I had to add a couple. There was the Ryan Reynolds, Will Ferrell movie that came out last year.
Spirited.
That's Spirited. And then Saturday Night Live did a Scrooge on Christmas Morning with Martin Short and Steve Martin, and it was tremendous. It's when he throws the coin down to the boy to get the turkey, and the coin blinds the boy and goes right into his eye.
It's so great.
Yeah, so I added adaptations from like Alistair Sim or Scrooged to little SNL sketches that are about Christmas Carol, that kind of stuff. But yeah, just embracing everything and trying to, with each year. And then I also added the section when we did A Mouse and Mystery and Me, I added a whole section on the crazy 80s TV movies. Like, you used to just get, they just have one-off specials. And then there was, Andy Williams and the NBC Kids.
Oh, that one's trippy.
Bizarre, where he goes to the TV parents to get permission to bring the kids to Finland with him.
That's right. That's right. Because he needs like 12 true believers or something.
I don't think Claire Huxtable is able to give Malcolm Jamal Warner's permission slip. Like, that's not how it works.
No, there's
and
a
then
whole
they leave.
thing there about
they leave
guardianship.
Natalie. They leave Natalie at the airport for Facts of Life.
They totally do.
They show her going to the airport with them, and then she's not in Finland with them.
Right. And that special, at the time that I did it, when I covered it, it wasn't available. So I actually had to go find a copy and buy it and get it in. And it came in like literally the day of. And so I was making notes like about 30 minutes before. But now it is available on YouTube, so you can find the entire thing on YouTube. And yeah, it's something else.
But yes, embracing all that stuff, and I try to fit it all into a book and celebrate it like you do with all the different 80s. You do toy episodes, or so it's much like your show. I just try to embrace all the wacky and fun parts of Christmas.
Where on the list is the what is it? The American Christmas Carol with Henry Winkler? I'm just kidding. Yeah,
I think it's not great because the makeup was tough to look at.
Yeah, his Scrooge, well, quote unquote Scrooge. It's not actually Scrooge, but it's rough.
There's some rough additions on there. Like there are a lot of versions I like. It was tough seeing the Fonz in bad makeup.
Yeah, that's a bad one. But yeah, you even have cartoons on there as well. If nothing,
you gave me one for my Christmas carol list was
Brave Star.
Brave Star. I'd never even heard of that one, but yeah, so I had added that to the list. Although
Nice.
they point out that he's only going to be fixed for this episode.
That's right.
They're like, yeah, he's not really cured.
Yeah, they're like, we got a cartoon to run here. He's our villain, so
Right.
it is what it is. Just roll with it for today. But
The TV show Fame, they redeemed a teacher that nobody really thought about before or after that episode.
right. Oh yeah,
Ebenezer Morlock.
Morlock. Yeah, I was gonna say Moloch.
But like
yeah,
he wasn't like a main antagonist. He was just a guy there that they decided to make him like the Scrooge that episode.
Well, you need a villain, and it's hard to make like the main antagonist of your show redeemed, because then what do you have a show about? So
or WKRP in Cincinnati, they
Right.
took Mr. Carlson and they made him evil for one episode when he was just bumbling. He was never like
I think
he
we
was
talked
never
about that
nasty to
too.
anyone.
Yeah, I think we did talk, because we did that 80s versions of A Christmas Carol.
That's
too.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, yeah, another fun episode. But yeah, guys, go get this book, especially you Christmas lovers out there. It's a great resource. It's a fun read. You'll make jokes sometimes in it that when you're doing the little synopsis that are just they make me smile, they make me laugh. It's good stuff, and I know you guys all will really just enjoy it. So where can we find your book?
Unfortunately, just go to the big bad machine, Amazon. That's
okay. That's okay.
That's the easiest place to get it.
Well,
You can order it through bookstores, but like the easiest and cheapest is probably just go right through Amazon.
Gotcha. That's okay. That's where I got it. So, no worries. But yeah, so make sure you get the Christmas book by Ed Daly. Ed, it's been fun. It's been a blast talking.
Always a pleasure, Jerry. I thoroughly look forward to doing these with you. So anytime you'll have me back, I'd be glad to contribute in any way I can.
I have a couple of out there specials that you might enjoy. So
Awesome.
I'll hit you up on those. But on that note, I'll end it by saying thanks again.
Thank you.
And you better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Gary Shandling's coming to town. So check us out on our social media pages, which you can find at linktree.com/totallyradchristmas. And if you're feeling like Gary getting his classic Christmas TV show, leave us a review on iTunes. It helps us reach more people and spread some rad holiday cheer. Now, don't forget to check out our merch shop on TeePublic and our super dope website, totallyradchristmas.com. Please, for God's sake, don't grease your chimney. Later, dudes.
Watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Gary Shandling's coming to town. He's making a list, checking it twice, gonna find out who's naughty or nice. Gary Shandling's coming to town. He sees you when you're sleeping, he knows